So organized labor, as you know, they warned that this will happen. A nationwide strike is something that they're prepared to do. This was more than 3 weeks ago, asking government to do a number of things to avert this particular outcome. At the time, they were barking. Now, they're set to bite. And they have already set the date for a nationwide strike. And it is not only organized labor, because this is also one that will be joined by the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining. It includes several private sector organizations too. Where we stand tonight, there are 8 more days now to the 10th of October. That's the day that they've told us that they will embark on this nationwide strike. It's really 8 days to shut down. It is really unprecedented, not only in its character, but in its motivation. It's the first time you see organized labor embark on a strike about an issue that hasn't got to do with their direct conditions of service. And this is unique indeed, and that's what makes this pretty profound. We know the issues that they put forward are quite comprehensive to deal with the subject of illegal mining. They wanted a deployment of the police and the military. We know that part of this has happened. At least we heard it from the Mines and Natural Resources Minister talking about what the instructions had been to regional ministers, and we had the Eastern Regional Minister with us a couple of weeks back talking about the work that they're doing there. And then they also asked for a declaration of a state of emergency that appeared to be the umbrella theme under which they wanted the rest of the interventions to follow, including the halting of mining near forest reserve, but also on water bodies, and the evacuation of miners from the forest reserves. The revocation of LI 2462 is a primary one that they've asked for. That hasn't happened. We also know that they also want establishment of a special course to deal with Galamsey. Today, the Attorney General and the Chief Justice have been trading blame over this particular subject, whose responsibility it is to ensure the prosecution of these individuals, the Galamsey criminals, and ensure that it's done expeditiously. As for responsibility, we know it is the courts, but the courts must work when the prosecutors are in the court and determined and committed, armed with the facts to ensure a speedy trial. Now, the Chief Justice says the pace at which these cases are traveling and the fact that they've been very slow is because the prosecutors themselves have just not taken the cases on with the seriousness it deserves, considering that this is a national catastrophe. The Attorney General says it is the fault of the judges and has actually asked the Chief Justice to give a directive that all Galamsey cases before the courts should be dealt with within a month after the courts return from the break. So that clearly is an issue to be looked at. Now, ban small-scale mining. But today on this particular subject, the Deputy Attorney General tells me that the AG department is in favor of establishing these special courts to deal with Galamsey, that they already have some of these special courts across the country already, but they are in favor of more. So those are the demands that organized labor put forth. But you also know that when it comes to organized labor, they are a very, very strong group of workers' unions all coming together for this particular cause. 72 of them, huge. The numbers are jaw-dropping, 700,000 individuals constituting those 72 groups. So you can begin to imagine how powerful they are. If they withdraw their service across the country, you can bet that this country will shut down. And that is what really the government must be working to avert. The organized labor tell us that they haven't heard from government or any responsible authority just yet since they announced the decision to embark on the strike. GPRTU is the latest to say they will join the strike. So on the 10th, they are going to be parking their cars. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, they're not going to have private vehicles, commercial vehicles in town on that day. And this is going to be indefinite. I listened to their communications director making the point that they will join. So this is indeed a very powerful group indeed. They've done this before one day, and it caused a bit of a havoc across the country. And we know already that organized labor, and this, by the way, is the Deputy Secretary General making a very important point. The government has not engaged them yet since they announced this, but the impact of this illegal mining matter has been felt across the country. At least 16 major river bodies have been polluted. At least 8 reserves are being mined in currently. And I was talking about this trading of blame between the Attorney General and the Chief Justice on who really is to blame for the slow pace at which the Galamsey trials are currently progressing through the courts. She says is your fault because your prosecutors are just not taking this seriously enough. Just to paraphrase, he says the judges must take this more seriously and attach a bit more priority to it. So direct the judges to hear the cases in 1 month. We need to find a way to resolve that. Clearly, there's an agreement there that something is wrong. The fact that you're even trading blame alone says something is wrong with the trial of these 140 cases before the courts. And sheer number of cases there. This is significant. This is significant. Where is the deterrence if the cases are not moving, progressing as they should through the courts? And that's a conversation we're going to have. Organized labor, what will it take to avert the shutdown on the 10th of October? And by the way, it's going to be indefinite if it happens. Stay with my guest. We'll stay for a conversation. And PMS is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. My guests are joining me for a conversation tonight. Dr. Ken Ashigbe is my guest, and he joins me right now for a conversation. I'm also joined, and remember that this is an organized labor thing that they met and decided, but it also one that we know that the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining has also joined. Professor Mamudu Akudugu is the National President of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, also joins. Abraham Kumsing is Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labor, also joins. Mr. Fusua Samoa is Executive Director of the National Labour Commission, NLC, is also joining me. And Dr. Paul Grave-Wachedankwa is the government spokesperson on governance and security. And remember that PMS is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough, and wherever you are tonight, I recommend that to you. You can find them wherever they are, and because they are across the country, indeed. Ghana, get ready for the biggest giveaway from Syntex Tanks. They've been promising, and now they're about to deliver. Syntex is visiting 15 communities, giving them free water. And this is to say thank you, Ghana, for making us the #1. Syntex was the first to introduce the double-layer tanks in Ghana. And do you also know that Syntex tanks come in so many colors and was first to come out with inner white layer also. So what's not in Syntex tanks for you? It's a lot indeed. Forget about it. Now, if you are a community or you want to benefit from Syntex free water giveaway, just log on to the social media handle, Syntex Ghana, and nominate your community. The more you nominate, the better chances of coming. Remember, it's Syntex. Syntex tanks is the tank for you. Let me bring my guest now into the conversation. And I want to start with you, Dr. Ashigbe. I mean, today we've been speaking to the TUC. They haven't received any notification yet from government since they declared the 10th October strike. I wonder if you've had any contact at all.
No, not at all. Nobody has reached out to us yet since organized labor declared the strike on the 10th of October. And so, while we're waiting, the good thing is that the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey has all various stakeholders involved in there. Organized labor is there, the media is there. We have various stakeholders, and we've not had anything yet from the government.
Okay. Prof. Akudugu, what about you? Have you been contacted? Have you had any contact?
Not at all.
Okay, so it remains what it was at the time that you decided to proceed. And I know, Prof, talk to me. I know you have to return to your union and communicate the decision and get everybody else on board. And I believe often you need a resolution to go. Have you satisfied those internal processes?
Yeah. In the case of UTAC, our constitution mandates that individual members have to vote for the declaration of an industrial action. We have started that process already. Today we have we had a National Executive Council meeting today, and the council approved that the processes to trigger the industrial actions will start. And so our independent elections committee is starting the voting process, and we have given ourselves by latest by the 8th of this month, all the voting would have been completed across all member campuses. And so and we have faith in our members who ask us to issue the pressure and to attend joint organized labor in this regard. We are sure that overwhelming majority of our members will vote for the industrial action to be declared by the
10th of October is just next week. You certain you can get all this done before the 10th?
Yes, our deadline for voting is on the 8th. So by the 8th of this week, by the 8th of this month, all campuses would have voted and results collated and declared by the 8th. So 10th is still within the time frame.
And Dr. Ashigbe, we know that the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining also is determined to join this. And the last time I spoke to you, you're going to have a conversation with the GJA to try and find out how you're going to roll out the strike for the media. Have you had any clarity on that?
Well, so we are in the processes of doing that engagement. But fortunately, you know, on the day of the press release, the president of GJA had intimated that because the media would be the rallying force for the rest of the blocks of the Ghana coalition against Galamsey, we would not say we're going to stop everything. So what would happen is that I'm pretty sure when we meet, there will be a strategy that would be crafted to ensure that we are also able to support in bringing the positive pressure and civil action to bear on what we do, whilst we rally around and make sure that on the 10th of October, every Ghanaian, you know, would support this particular industrial action. Fortunately, on Friday, last Friday, the GJA had an EGM where a decision was taken there that had mandated the National Council, Governing Council, to be able to take that decision on their behalf. So that engagement will happen. And you remember on that day, or the night of the awards, the GJA president talked about the fact that we start with the hashtag Stop Galamsey now as we go along. And one of our strategy going forward now is the countdown towards the 10th. So this engagement that we've been having, like what we're doing today on PM Express, is all part of it. To be able to rally everybody together, rally all the various institutions together. From the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, for example, we're reaching out to the 10 blocks that we have so far as the coalition is concerned. So we are reaching out to the professional bodies, we are reaching out to the media is already in there, labor is already on, the traditional authorities are part of it, the religious bodies are part of it, pressure groups are also part of it, a lot of civil society organization, academia, and the research bodies are all part of it. So we want to make sure that our resolve as Ghanaians is complete, and that we let the government, those we have elected to govern us, know that sovereignty resides in us. And when the president advised on the 7th of January 2017 that we should not be spectators, but citizens were really taking that very seriously, because some of the things that Evans were seeing is really mind-boggling.
Yeah.
As I speak, there are 2 cops, one in BBNE, one in Kumasi, and the postmortems that have been done in them, the level of heavy metals that have been found in those. One of them has a 26 weeks old pregnant woman, and the fetus, the level of deformation of those fetuses, you know, it's really mind-boggling.
And that really is the reason why this has become a campaign that has broad-based support. I want to bring in Ms. Ofosu Asamoah with the NLC, the National Labour Commission. Mr. Asamoah will join us pretty shortly. I lost him. Do we have Paul Grieve on?
Francis, you do. Evans, you do.
Hi, Paul Grip. Great to have you join us. Paul Grip, from a government point of view, you have 8 days now before organized labor, calls this nationwide strike and begins it. How is government approaching an attempt to avert this nationwide strike?
It's a very crucial time for us in government. Definitely, illegal mining is a big threat to all of us. I'm very certain that organized labor will take also a very unified group in this to shift the field with the upcoming strike. I'm aware that every single week when the president sits, he sits with his cabinet. And I know that tomorrow there's going to be a cabinet meeting. I'm very confident that this would be one of the topical issues that will be discussed. And I'm also confident that organized labor will hear from government before the 10th of October. And I'm certain, I pray, that the strike would not need to happen, especially when government is preparing to be able to give some timelines and some responses to organized labor. But it's a very difficult timing. We all feel the pressure. The threats of Galamsey affects everyone, every single Ghanaian.
You talk about, just to clarify, you talk about it's a very difficult timing. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, government, definitely when there is strike, there is demonstration, there are difficult times for government. And clearly asking for very decisive decisions to be made within the shortest possible time.
Yeah, but what's really difficult about this? You are definitely not in support of illegal mining. The president put his presidency on the line. This should be easy. This should be a walk in the park. In fact, you didn't need organized labor to ask you to do it before you should do it. So where's the difficulty?
I look at the letter that organized labor wrote in September, and they asked for this. One of the things that they asked for was a call on an emergency, a state of emergency.
A state of emergency, yes.
Then they asked for a review of the provisions in LI 2460 in terms of pay and drawer or line. And then they asked for subsequent of a shock so they can prosecute both things illegal. I am very pleased that these were very thought out processes to organize. But I'm also very certain that it will not take 2 weeks to be able to solve issues that, which is why I say it's a very difficult timing. Because organized labor is seeing pressure on government. Government is also preparing very well for very good responses to the Ghanaian people. And so we're working very hard. But like these 3 things that organized have for which, yeah.
And I apologize. The connection to you isn't great. Let's see if
Can
we
you
can
hear
get
me?
you.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, I think it's better now. I was struggling to discern what
Sure.
you're saying.
I am stating that organized labor has asked for 3 things. The first was to call for a state of emergency. The second was to call for a revocation of the LI. And then the third was to call for the establishment of special courts. And I'm stating that there's no way we can do all of these things in 3 weeks, as they are now intending to call for a nationwide strike over the next 8 days. But I'm very certain that in tomorrow's cabinet meeting, this would be one of the major things that cabinet will discuss. I'm very certain that, I hope and pray actually, that organized labor will hear from government such that there will not be a need for that nationwide strike to happen on the 10th of October. But I will ask for everyone to exercise some restraint, because it's the desire of government to resolve these issues and meet with every other stakeholder that is important in the value chain of this process.
But considering, you just clarified that every week government holds a cabinet meeting, the president, of course, chairs a cabinet meeting. If you look at when the first indication was given by organized labor that they will be prepared to, one, protest and to call a strike. There have been at least 4 cabinet meetings since then, and government only chose to form an ad hoc interministerial committee that didn't come close to addressing the issues that organized labor had raised. Government took this whole issue for granted, did it not?
I don't think government took it for granted at all. And I'm not too sure if the ad hoc committee that the president, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, set up has not considered these recommendations that organized labor has made. Because you recall that the president's involvement or the economic best the sector that land forest is the honor to 8 also in the meeting.
I'm sorry. The line is just not great. Let's try and fix that connection to Palgrave, but at least it makes the point. And
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. So I mentioned that there's nothing that government has neglected in this call by organized labor. When these letters came up and the president called for a meeting with all the regional ministers called RESEC as well, the president called for a meeting in addition to the sector minister, Honorable Samuel Ejenapo, to look into these rising issues. And I'm very clear in my mind that there's been very detailed conversations. And so, which is why I'm stating that organized labor, I don't think that by the time we get to the 10th of October, which is next week, government will not have responded. I'm very certain that by next week, before we get to the 10th, government would respond.
Just to make it more practical, what is difficult about banning all forms of mining on water bodies and in forest reserves? What is difficult about working with the Chief Justice to set up special courts to deal expeditiously with Galamsey crimes? What is difficult about deploying the police and the military into the forest to deal with these illegal small-scale miners? Well, yes, in the forest reserves. What is difficult about imposing a state of emergency that makes the water bodies and the forest reserve no-go area for people who want to destroy these bodies? What is difficult about any of these?
Well, I mean, Evans, I just stated very clearly that we need to be able to wait for the position of government to be able to address these issues that organized labor has raised them. But I'm very confident that these issues are going to be resolved. I'm very confident that government is going to respond as well with very clear timelines before organized labor's nationwide strike. And I hope and pray, my hope and prayer is that the nationwide strike is not going to happen. I hope and pray that the response that our government would give would be sufficient enough for organized labor to recline on their position in terms of calling for a nationwide strike.
Mahmoud, at least you hear an assurance that tomorrow cabinet is meeting and there's certainty that your issues will be tabled. Does that provide you any measure of comfort?
Unfortunately, no, because as you rightly put it, there have been more than 4 cabinet meetings since this issue came to the light. The interministerial committee that Dr. Pelgrave is talking about, they said they were going to engage other stakeholders. In fact, they engaged us on the 17th. They were supposed to come back to us. They told us that they were meeting us again within a week. That was supposed to be on the 24th of September. As we talk, no word, no call, nothing from the ministry. From the committee. And there have been cabinet meetings. I hope and also wish that something is done before the 10th. But be as it may, unfortunately, I wish I was able to be more optimistic about that.
But let me ask you. I mean, you have at least 5 demands that you put before government. Do you want all of these 5 demands fulfilled in full before the 10th? Or, in good faith, if they execute or implement 1 or 2 of them, you are ready to give them some breathing space and suspend your planned strike?
You know, as you ask the question, what we have asked for are things that can easily be done without any difficulty, if I should speak. If government strongly believes that some of the demands, there will be difficulties and negative implications for whatever reasons. It's a matter of engaging with us. Say, okay, for ABCD, I'm able to meet you, but this one, for ABCD reasons and the implications that it will have, we are unable to meet that one. Then we can have that conversation. But as we talk, it appears that government is not even interested in doing anything. And you see that they are beginning to play the whole politics with it. But the truth is that for some of us, our political party is Ghana. And so it's important that we protect that interest. And that is the Ghanaian interest that we want to protect. And I think you left out one thing that organized labor also added. When we met the interministerial committee on the 17th, we added that we wanted the two main political parties to also sign a declaration of their commitment to stopping this process. I mean, this whole menace that is negatively affecting the country. And so that is one other thing that has to be done, especially the two main political parties that we know either of them will likely be the next government. We want them to show that commitment that it is not going to be the business as usual approach. They are committed to ensuring that they stop mining in our forest reserves, water bodies, cocoa farms or farmlands, and all the rest of the things that we are asking for.
I want to bring in Ibrahim Kumsing, the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour. Mr. Kumsing, just so I understand the potential impact of this strike if it should happen on the 10th, the Ghana Federation of Labour, your membership, how many are it? What's the strength of the association in terms of numbers?
Manufacturing industry. So we've even written to inform the employers.
I missed the beginning. We lost you slightly at the beginning. You were clarifying in terms of your membership and the strength.
Members, as I said, we cover the manufacturing sector. It's very difficult to call a figure, but just know that we cover the manufacturing sector. We have some members in the mining industry and others. So
you have members in the private sector too, then?
Yes, the manufacturing, especially the manufacturing. We have people in the public service, the banks. We have members there as well. As I said, we've written to inform the employers that this is what is going to happen. Organized labor has taken a decision, and so by 10th, it's going to happen, so that they can take measures to put in place, some things that will not, adversely affect their operation.
So you expect that on the 10th, your members working in the banks, in the mines, in the manufacturing sector, for private sector owners, won't go into work, will cease and withdraw services?
Exactly. That was a collective decision that organized labor took. So we cannot, distance ourselves from that conversation and the decision that we took. So certainly.
Let's apply the reality check. Is that even realistic to expect that banks will let their staff stay at home because they are protesting? Of course, this is a noble cause, but is that practical? And this is indefinite, by the way.
Oh yes, I mean we should all feel it because we have the essential services, and we are working on that as well to make sure that we don't bring undue hardships to anybody. We are putting, because water services, that is PSW and all, they all deal with essential services area, and so we are discussing how to go about it. But you see, if government will act. I don't know what is preventing them from acting on our issues that we have brought up. I don't know. I don't know why they can't do it. Why should they wait for the 10th before they start, I don't know. I don't know what is preventing them. They should tell us that, because of A, B, C, in fact, we cannot meet your demand. Then we know. We sit down and then discuss. But they are not talking. They are not talking, and we think that it is not very difficult for them to act on our demand. It is not. It is, unless maybe some people, because if you have read Professor Mpobatin's report, he was saying that the people who are operating the Galamsey are within the presidency. They are there. So if they cannot act on this, what is that? This is not about wage increase. It's not about minimum wage. This is about people's lives. This is about people are dying.
Yeah, Paul Grave says that. Paul Grave says that at the end of the cabinet meeting tomorrow, and between now and 10th, he is confident that you will hear from government on what will happen to the demand that you place before it. But coming back to enforcing the strike, do you admit nonetheless that this is going to be a challenging ask to fully enforce this for the impact that you anticipate?
No, that's what it is better we took this path. It is better we go this direction. But otherwise, we're all going to perish.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no disagreement. There's no disagreement on that. But for government to feel the pain and moved to act, the strike must be effective. Because of the group you represent, private sector players, you admit that it's going to be challenging to get all the private sector organizations and institutions to fully comply with the strike, an indefinite strike.
Why? We have written, we should all feel it, because it is better we drink this bitter medicine to save life. Because if we don't do it, even, I tell you, anything can happen. Look, yesterday I watched some video, a friend place, the water. It's also getting contaminated. And so it's scary. It's very scary. So it's not for anybody to, this one, it needs emergency, not the regular cabinet meeting. This emergency, they should call an emergency cabinet meeting and deal with it.
Well, what happens to private sector institutions who decide not to allow their workers to strike on the 10th? Members of
they won't allow. We are writing to them. The workers are determined. We have engaged the workers already, and they are prepared. They are ready to stay at home. And so we are only informing the employers that this is the decision that Labour has taken. And I don't think that any employer will go and drag the employees from their homes to come and work.
Yeah, but you know there'll be potential sanctions if a bank opens on the day expecting workers to come in and they don't show up, and the excuse is that they are joining a strike, of course, to protest against a very devastating, catastrophic problem like that.
If they do that, then we'll go another level and see how we'll deal with it. If an employer is comfortable, look, yesterday I read that the pharmaceutical companies are finding it very, very difficult to treat this contaminated water to do their business. You can imagine, even if they are unable to treat this water well and they pass it through, look, the patients, if you want infusion, we are giving you this adulterated water. And what will happen? Pharmaceutical companies, they are complaining. They belong to the private sector. And they are worried that it costs them too much to treat this water. So what are they saying? It's about our health. It's about our life. So people should not think that we are not too happy embarking on this action. You see, we are not too happy. But what is government doing? Are they concerned? All the Galamsey kingpins are still within the presidency. That's what look, they are there, they are involved deeply, they are doing all this. That's why they cannot take any action. If you think that, if they know that it is Kumsin who is engaged in this Galamsey thing, do you think that I will stay for even 1 hour in my house? If they know Kumsin is involved in this Galamsey, will I be just going about doing things? Would they not chase me? Would they pick me? They know the people who are doing it. They know that if they know that Evans is engaged in Galamsey, you see that Evans will be there, will be at the office. You can't say.
Yeah.
They know the people. They know them. They know who are doing all these things, and they are reluctant to do because some of them, the cabinet ministers, some of them are even part of it. I'm saying this. They are involved. That's why they cannot take any action.
Yeah.
What is it?
Mr. Kumsi, stay with me. Let me bring in Pargreg. Pargreg, so the ad hoc committee, the interministerial ad hoc committee that was set up on the back of the organized labor threat at the beginning of last month, they met organized labor and met a few other groups. Do you have an update on what has happened to their work?
No, I don't have updates currently on what has happened, but I'm aware of the fact that they have been organized very much aware that the sector, that the honorable agent have very, very hard around the clock to ensure that some of the demands that organized labor has brought is addressed and looked at and conversations are had, which is why I'm confident that tomorrow's cabinet meeting would have a lot of these conversations ongoing, which will be relevant for us as we look forward to the 10th. And I'm praying, really, is that the strike will be called off, because I'm very sure that by next week, between the first few days of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we should have some clear directions of what government seeks to do to be able to address some of the issues that organized labor has raised up.
Okay. Dr. Kenashigbe, the group met organized labor. I know you didn't participate. And, well, we're still yet to hear the update. Presumably, their work will feed into this cabinet meeting tomorrow. But to the question that I was asking Abraham Kumsin there, I mean, for the strike to work and to bite and to deliver results, it has to be effective. And consider that this is really an unprecedented, uncharted territory where all workers across the country, private sector, public sector, are expected to join. For public sector, it's very clear. They've done this before. They know how to do it. But for private sector, there's no script to this. This is very, very new to a lot of people in the private sector. Realistically, and you've been in the private sector too. I mean, you, of course, lead a chamber, the telecoms chamber. You have, a lot of the big players in the telecom sector as your members. Realistically, how do you enforce the strike among even the members of the chamber?
So you see, Evans, you should not forget that some of the chamber, some of their staffs are unionized. So there are private, there are workers that are within the union. But you heard today the GPRTU tell you about what it is that they're going to do. GPRTU are also private sector. They are even informal. You see, the thing, and that's the power of this Ghana coalition, the fact that we have the media also involved. We would see which entities, maybe as corporate bodies themselves, are benefiting from the illegality and so would want the illegality to go. So if you are a bank and maybe because you also keep Galamsey money, you decide that you would punish your workers when they decide to go against it. Bear in mind that we're even hearing mining companies themselves start telling you about the fact that if we continue this illegality, investment that is coming into this country itself will suffer. We know what is happening to our cocoa. We know what is happening, and all of these things are, things that do not concern people. But when you talk about the fact that even as you and I talk today, the water that we are drinking from Ghana water, we cannot be sure how the fact that it is clear does not mean that it's clean from the heavy metals. So one of the asks that is coming from the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey is to write to Ghana Water and ask them to tell us, in terms of the heavy metal content of this water, which of them are potable, which of them are not potable. And then we would get independent sources to also try and confirm that. Because you see, the issues that we are dealing with is life and death. So what we definitely, and so there's going to be a lot of moral suasion so far as enforcing this is concerned. And Evans, remember that not only is it the unions that are talking, you also, so UTAG, you know, in as much as UTAG is also a union, they are also made up of professionals as well. We've had the Ghana Institution of Engineering. We've had various professional bodies as well also add their voices to what it is that is happening. We even know that for a fact that the Presby Church, the moderator has asked the congregations to start wearing red. I know for a fact that there's a major religious denomination that is also planning a prayer protest. You know, so this is not something that, you know, we're taking very lightly. The decisions that we're taking is akin to going for a surgery. You know this is painful. Your daughter, your son is going to go through this surgery. But if you don't subject him or her or yourself to the painful surgery, what is going to happen is death. This is not about death that is going to happen. This is death that is already happening. And one of the things that we are also going to be doing in the coming days, working together with the media, is to start showing the linkages between some of these things that we're doing and the impact of the people in the forest. Even there's one of the videos you're playing. There's a man that walks into his feet, walks into very dirty water, uses his bucket, and then drinks directly from it. And this is water they themselves are washing whatever chemicals back into. And so because of that, you are seeing a lot of spontaneous abortions in these communities. You are seeing babies born very deformed. There is a baby currently living who has 6 limbs. And the linkages to the things that are happening are now beginning to become clear. The pathologists, the scientists are doing a lot of work that are linking clearly, you know, the presence of heavy metals when these postmortems are done and they look into the fetuses, they look into the ureters of these, you know, dead persons, and they begin to now draw direct linkages. So the things that we are talking about, it is not just a hearsay. I remember in 2017, the Water Research Institute had gone into some of these Galamsey communities to go and do some study. They bought bread by the side of the road. When they came and they tested this bread, it was laden with a lot of heavy metals. There are 2 young boys in Bekwai currently as we speak. They have had a condition, the doctors mentioned, I'm not able to, remember the words, but they have had a condition that now even eating, they are not able to do it themselves. So this is about our real lives that we're talking about.
I mean, talking about that, I know you've written to the political parties, the 2 main presidential candidates, NDC and MPP. Yesterday we heard from Miracle Sobwaje on Joy FM. He's a campaign communications manager for the Bawumia campaign, saying that Dr. Bawumia is willing to sign the pact. Have you heard formally, though, from his camp and also from the John Mahama camp?
No, Evans, well, the 2 camps, we've written to them, they have not answered. But the first thing we need to do is to make sure that the president starts these actions that we're asking for. And then after the president has started, then we get these 2 political parties and the rest of them to sign on to agree that they are committed to that particular pact. And as Prof said, we want to ensure that on the 8th or the 7th of January 2025, whoever comes would also continue the same thing, because in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, this action, the state of emergency, the revocation of all of those, they have to be going on. So it has to go in steps. The first one is the president has to act, and the political party, because one of the things we don't want to do, we don't want any political party benefiting out of this national cause. As Prof talked about, our party is Ghana. So this Ghana party movement that we have, we don't want any political party benefiting out of it. Yeah. So we don't want any of them coming into the towns and coming to scream that stop Galamsey. And then as we have seen from 2016, 2020, and even now, they go into those communities and then they start saying amnesty will be granted, we will not stop Galamsey, we would want you back in the. We don't want any of those things happening.
On the list of demands, is it all or nothing?
You see, and again, so I think my two colleagues have said it. That you see, again, that's why they say agrobeswa if you are not. So if the president does some of the things that you can do, and then say that the rest of them you are going to do, So if you tell us, for example, that a revocation has to come with, laying a new ally in parliament, so it means you would have started the process. The state of emergency, we know that once you declare the state of emergency, you have to then, within 72 hours, lay it before parliament. But this current government, when they wanted some loans passed, they were able to summon parliament to come. But again, the new standing orders allows for parliament to be able to sit virtually. So definitely we can use technology to be able to convene parliament so that once the president declares the state of emergency, he can lay it before parliament. So you can, if there's the willingness to do it, and there's a demonstration that that activity has started, definitely you can engage, and you know that this thing would follow its natural course, and it will happen. But the situation where you have the president, at the Ghana Journalists Association, and then even the Nigerian who had come was the keynote speaker, even commented on it, and you don't have a single comment. A president that carried all of us along when we're doing COVID with fellow Ghanaians, and no comment. That is what is disheartening. That's what then brings you to the point where on the 10th of October, you then have to take this very bitter pill, because at least it prevents you from dying.
Okay, Ken, thank you very much. And Doc, I'm grateful too. Paul Grape, we'll wait for the outcome of this cabinet meeting tomorrow. And Abraham Kumsing also joined us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.